Kick it off.
Okay. Game day Winnipeg, ready to get going here on Bonfire Sports. The legendary Chris Walby joins me as always. And, well, following the Blue Bombers' second bye of the season, they'll play their third final game of the regular season at home tonight, being Saturday, against the Montreal Alouettes. Chris, the Bombers have the West Division wrapped up. Montreal still has a heck of a lot to play for. They're one game above 500. They're jockeying. Oh, my goodness. Glad we got that out of the way early.
Yeah, I was a little itchy there. I don't know what's going on, but you're right. Must be all that furnace talk.
We were talking furnaces. So
right.
Montreal jockeying with Hamilton, with Toronto in the East Division. Winnipeg will face very likely either Calgary or Saskatchewan on December 5th at IG Field in that West Final. We're going to continue to scoreboard watch over the next couple weeks. We're also going to have some great conversations, Chris. I'm looking forward to getting your input on this. The MOP Awards, the League All-Star Awards, the Blue Bombers Team Awards, and maybe that's where we can start because in comes Winston Rose after time in the National Football League. I'll remind everybody out there, I have a great one-on-one conversation you can find on our Bonfire Sports YouTube page right now. We're also available on all major podcast platforms as well. So whether it's Google, Apple, Spotify, you name it, Bonfire Sports is there. Just give it a search. So with Rose coming in, Mike Jones will be a backup dime backer to Alden Darby, and it's rookie Deandre Alford moving over to the other side of the field. So interesting that the rookie Alford is staying in the lineup, and lots of conversation this week. He could be the most outstanding rookie, not just on the Bombers, but the entire CFL.
Well, he's going to be in tough. I think he's definitely going to be the nominee for the outstanding rookie for the Bombers. I was kind of breaking it down and looking at some of the other teams. I mean, on BC, they have Tim Bonner, the defensive line.
Good player.
He's pretty much making a name for himself. You got Jake Mayer in Calgary, who, although a limited time, played very well in the time he did play. I think the biggest competition is going to come from Saskatchewan, and it's going to be Kean Schaefer-Baker, who's had just an outstanding kid, is really turning into a fine receiver. He's blossoming early. So I think it'll be a two-dog race in the West between Deandre Alford and the receiver from Saskatchewan. So that's just the way I feel right now looking at everything.
No, I think that's a very well-rounded look at it, Chris. What I wonder is, with receivers, you can look at numbers, games played, targets, catches, yards, touchdowns. With defensive backs, it's much more difficult. You can't look at tackle numbers because that just means you were being thrown at all the time and catches were being made. You can't look at forced fumbles or interceptions per se. Like, they can factor in, but you got to be thrown at. Now, Deandre Alford hasn't been targeted a lot this season. He's playing the most difficult spot where all the action is at the boundary cornerback spot. He has to go up against the likes of, normally like a Geno Lewis or a Jake Weineke, Darrell Walker in those two games against Edmonton, absolutely shut that perennial all-star down. Eric Rogers with the Calgary Stampeders, Kamar Jordan with the Calgary Stampeders. Yeah. With Toronto, Eric Rogers.
Let me just slap you upside that beard, boy.
You love doing that whenever I make a little mistake. You're right. But maybe
I'm right on you, baby. I'm on you.
Absolutely. Well, no, it's appreciated by everybody.
But you're right.
He's had a tough job this year.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, sometimes you look at the throws and how many people they threw at you. You look at Winston Rose, you mentioned, back in the lineup at that boundary corner. Led the CFL and the Bombers in interceptions in 2019 with 9. Now, obviously, he was targeted a lot. I mean, obviously, if you're a guy that's got like 5'6", you're starting to stay away from that guy going, maybe I don't want to test this guy too much. They kept going after him, and he kept making them pay for it. I like this Alford kid. I think this kid's coming as a rookie. He's played well, and it was either him. Who are you going to take out? I mean, Mike Jones is the second leading tackler on this team. And you don't really hear Mike Jones's name mentioned much during the game. He's being quietly solid playing in that position. And now they got a plethora, you like that word, plethora of defensive backs. And now they can move Mike Jones as a backup to Alden Darby. The rich just get rich. We talked about that. So listen, it's going to come down. How much do you expect these guys to play? And I'll be honest with you. I expect Mike Jones. He'll go in there He's going to rotate a bit. Obviously, the biggest thing right now is get, as you mentioned before we even came on the air, the chemistry between Winston Rose, Dietrich Nichols, Brandon Alexander, the teacher, as they call him now, those guys in the communication. So that's the thing they want to get Winston right up to, right par. He hasn't played for a while. Remember that. So I think it'll be interesting, but I still think you're going to see a lot of rotation.
Well, they need to rotate because you want to make sure everybody is playing their best football on December 5th. And then, well, fingers crossed for Blue Bombers fans out there, the Grey Cup on December 12th in Hamilton. But, to me, Winston Rose arrives here in Winnipeg, gets through quarantine and protocol and all that stuff. He's able to step on the field, and seamless for him because same system he played under, in 2019 with Richie Hall and that great Grey Cup run that they had. Same position he will play tonight as he did back in 2019 and 2018. And to me, Chris, this isn't about change for the sake of change. This is about throwing Winston Rose into the fire. We got to remember, he's been in the NFL for a year and a half, but he hasn't played in any games, like real live bullet games.
Fresh legs, maybe fresh legs.
Yeah, he's going to have fresh legs, but it's also, he's got to shake off a little bit of maybe that game day rust and that sort of thing. Mike Jones has played a lot. Alford, Nichols, Nick Taylor, Alden Darby, they've all played a lot. Brandon Alexander, of course, pretty much every snap and on special teams all year. Get Winston Rose in now, next week, against Calgary, and then you can look at your options to have the best lineup when it matters on December 5th.
Yeah, well, listen, they're not bringing it. You're not going to bring Winston Rose in here when he had his agent talk to the Bombers to get the talks going. If the Bombers didn't give him any indication he would not be automatically starting, he could have went anywhere. Yeah, he's comfortable here. He knows the system. He knows Richie Hall's defense. But he's not a guy that's going to come back here and you're going to sit on the bench and be a backup. He's not that kind of guy. And I think Richie Hall said it great this week when he said he makes us a better team. And that's the respect they have for the guy for a guy like Winston. Like I said, there's strength in the secondary. We actually thought at the beginning of the year during our first Bonfire Sports show that would be the question mark for the Bombers this year. And Jordan Younger, the secondary coach, has done a magnificent job with these young men.
No question. It's just amazing to me, Chris, and people I talk to around the country, that the two defensive backs amongst the halfbacks and corners that the Bombers don't want to touch are the two rookies. Dietrich Nichols has been as good, maybe even better than Deandre Alford. I think Alford's getting, more conversation about, rookie of the year. I don't think Dietrich Nichols is eligible for that award.
No, he's not. He played a game. He played a game in the NFL.
Yeah. Right. And the XFL as well. I'm not sure if that factors in, but he led the XFL in 2020 with 3 interceptions. But in the case of Deandre Alford, let's hear from him now. He talks about, how this year has gone for him.
I'll say my teammates. I always give the veterans a shout out, like Nick Taylor, Brandon Alexander, the older guys in the secondary. I'm not going to say they hard on me, but they are but it's like, they just help me grow. And it's every week, every practice, every snap, I'm growing. I'm learning the game even more. So it's like, my teammates, they just make it just so easy for me. And I really appreciate those guys. A hard worker. I've always been a hard worker, and just the mindset, the mentality that I have, I want to be, the greatest to ever play, my position. And my teammates just help contributing to my success. So I just want to keep on, thanking those guys.
Chris, you mentioned defensive backs coach Jordan Younger, and no doubt he has been a huge contributor to the seamless transition for these two rookies in Dietrich Nichols and Deandre Alford into the Blue Bombers secondary. So too, obviously, Richie Hall and Mike O'Shea, but maybe more than anybody, it's the one you talk to, you refer to as the teacher, and that's safety Brandon Alexander, helping those guys settle in.
We mentioned that last week. We had a little riddle out there. We put a little question out there who, some of the toughest safeties I've ever had the opportunity or the privilege to play with. I mentioned Benny Thompson. Well, this guy is very indicative, very similar in style and the way he plays the game to Benny Thompson. He's a hitter. He causes people and receivers to call it, we call it alligator arms, where they pull the arms in. They're so scared of going for the ball, reaching out, putting himself in a vulnerable position because number 37, Brandon Alexander, is going to make you pay for that catch. He's having let's break it right down. This defense could be all-star from one side to the other.
Yeah.
But he definitely, this year in my mind, has picked his game up, and right now he is the all-star safety, in my opinion, in the CFL.
So 2 comments I want to get to from BA, Brandon Alexander. The first being the adjustment of those 2 rookies in Nichols and Alford. And the second, what people are talking about right now here in Winnipeg, Chris, 3 games to go, nothing seemingly to play for. Brandon Alexander talked about the want to play and remain in the lineup. Despite being one of those veterans, the Blue Bombers may look to preserve going into the postseason.
Well, they came in and they were sponges. They came in and they soaked the game up so quickly and fast, and they wanted to learn everything, immediately. And these guys came in and they showed, being relentless and, just that willingness to learn, and then at the same time too, like they help us as well. Our communication get better. If they see something that, we don't see, they tell us, hey, da-da-da. And one thing I love about those 2 and this group in the back end in general is the fact that we can really talk to each other, tell us how each other feels, and not have to, be upset about it or anything, whether it's in practice, in the game. We make that adjustment immediately. Nobody's harping on each other. Everybody got their backs 100%, no matter what happened in that play. And, with those 2 guys, they're a big help in that as well.
Would you like some downtime? Do you want to play 3 60-minute games? Where do you sit on that whole thing?
As far as me, I want to play. And I know everybody in the locker room in there, they want to play every single week. I don't like the resting guys and stuff. Again, that's not in my control or my call or anything. But, whether you rest or not, you're going to have your pros and cons to both of them, But as far as me specifically, like I want to be out there with my guys. I want to play. I don't want to sit down. I don't want to do any of those things. I love being out there. I sat down for a full year, and if that decision comes in, then so be it. But, I know me personally and everybody in that locker room, they don't want to get that knock and be like, hey, you're going to sit down this week. We all want to play, we all want to get after it and do that because we already sat down for some time.
It is kind of a fine line for O'Shea to walk, though, isn't it?
No question. I believe that's a hard decision to make as a coach because, he's a player's coach as well. He's been in that position, and I'm pretty sure if he was playing right now and the coach came and said something to him about sitting down, he wouldn't want to do it. So I know that job for him is, pretty difficult to do. And, whoever I know is for, the best interest of, the team and for us as well. But, at the end of the day, I hope you don't come in and tell me that, I want to play.
How do you feel about that, Chris? Guys obviously want to play. Players want to play, but you also want to make sure that you load manage, that you preserve, and that you ensure that your important players, the ones that you need to go on a Grey Cup run in the postseason, are healthy and ready to go.
And it's interesting because you don't want to lose the big mo. That's momentum. You're playing so well right now. You're making great decisions. You're blowing people out. Obviously, 45-0 against BC. The way they're playing the game right now, there's no kink in the armor. And when you look at what they're doing, you're almost scared. You're a little nervous to pull somebody out and wreck that chemistry. Like I actually thought when you put Winston in, but that's a different kind of thing because you're basically taking an all-star and throwing him back in there, albeit he hasn't played for a while. But you don't want to take somebody out, and you wonder, like, I can tell you right now, there'll be no rotation in the O-line. I'd be very surprised. That's one unit that never really give you a rotation unless it's preseason. The receivers, I can't see them changing receivers either. You've got 3 games left in a shortened season, only 14 games, and you got to bye again. So they have that rest again, much like they did last year in the last week when they had to bye before they went in the playoffs. But now they're only at 1 game from the cup, which is crazy, right? So yeah. I think O'Shea is going to do the right thing. I don't think he's going to rotate many guys. I think you might see some guys in second or maybe Mike Jones getting a little play back there. But, unless something serious happens, I just don't know why why would you mess with the way you got things going right now?
No doubt. Things are cooking and working for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. What's interesting this week, Chris, we know Andrew Harris and Jamarcus Hardwick still both on the injured list. Harris with a knee, and we know when that happened against the Edmonton Elks and that touchdown run, Hardwick has been battling through what's officially listed as a hip injury. Yeah. The Blue Bombers O-line, like you said, there isn't going to be too much shifting around there. That's a solid group. We're going to see Johnny Augustine. We're going to see Brady Oliveira, Shaq Cooper. Excuse me, the contingency plan. He might.
Now, there's a guy that might get a little. He might get in. He might be brought in there, right, for just rotation.
He may.
But I want to go back to one guy you just mentioned, and I know I'm going to go off a little bit here, but Jamarcus Hardwick. Mm-hmm. So I'm last week, and I'm at the Eastside Eagles football field for my two grandsons. Declan is 13, and the other one's 15. He plays in the older group. Okay. They both won their championships for the Eastside Eagles, separate teams.
Nice.
As I'm coming back to my car with my wife, I hear Walby, and I look over, and who's this big? It's frickin' Jamarcus Hardwick.
How about that?
He says, "Hey man, nice to meet you." Comes over, big bear hug, and this is the first time I've met him. Big bear hug, and then he goes, "Do you mind if I get my picture with you?" I was like, "Are you kidding me? I get to have one with the Hardwick hop." And I just had a good time with him. I'm just, and awesome. Jermise Jones was there, and actually another guy that were there. We were playing Fort Garry, and Willie Jefferson was there supporting some kids. So
nice.
It was quite a contingent of next bombers at this game. So it was kind of neat to see.
No, that's
anyway,
great.
I just want to throw that in there.
Yeah,
everybody's talked about Jamarcus, and for me to actually meet him, I got to tell you, it was a big thrill. He really is as friendly and energetic as everybody tells you.
No doubt. That was championship weekend that happened this past weekend on Sunday. I wasn't able to be there. I was calling the Winnipeg Rifles playoff win with Rod Hill, who,
How was Rod Hill doing? I bet he did a good job.
He did. Yeah, it was a ton of fun. And now the Rifles head to Regina for the Prairie Football Conference semifinals this coming Sunday.
Congratulations to Gord Wilson and those guys.
Yeah, Jordy is a heck of a head coach. He's got his guys playing really well right now.
Good.
But Hardwick is the man amongst a group of offensive linemen protecting quarterbacks. Should Zach Collaros play the entire game? Should he play the rest, these three final games of the regular season against Montreal twice and against Calgary? What's interesting, I noticed this week, Chris, is that Zach Collaros spoke in the plural when talking about game planning. He said, we as quarterbacks need to do this and that. Haven't really heard that language from him before. I think it would be prudent and smart, and I'd like your take on this, to give Sean McGuire a good, healthy workload in this final stretch so he's comfortable if they ever need him in the postseason.
DB, I agree with you. And it's funny, I almost contradicting what I made comments before saying that I can't see them doing it. But now that when I think about it, the guy that's going to take you to the prize land is Zach Collaros, right? He's the guy that stirs the pot, right? Mm-hmm. Having said that, Sean McGuire is 2 of 6. So, I mean, he definitely needs to take some reps. And when you think about who they're going against now, and the Montreal Alouettes, their defense gets after the quarterback. Mm-hmm. They had 6 quarterback sacks last week. They're number 1 in the CFL at 44. David Menard, who's a backup, doesn't even start, leads them with 8 sacks. These
performer.
Guys have blitzed from everywhere. They're a very good football team. So, if you're a coach now, and listen, we have a great offensive line, so I'm not going to put the kibosh on anybody right now. But if you see Zach getting maybe a little bit hit or maybe pushed around a little bit, I wouldn't be surprised that they put a little bit of Sean McGuire in there, sprinkle him in there, and maybe give him a quarter. Unless the Bombers blow Montreal out, which I don't think they're going to do. I mean, Montreal has not been blown out this year. I think that Zach will play. Maybe he plays a half. Remember these games. But the thing is, this team has not lost. I think there's another thing at stake here, eh? They're 6-0 at home.
Right.
You always want to have that perfect blemish. You don't want to have a perfect score. So you don't want to go into the playoff on December 5th knowing you lost your last home game.
No,
it's a stick. You don't want that in you, right? So
they talk about protecting the house. I know Willie Jefferson speaks to that.
Oh, for sure, man.
Often. Speaking of the Montreal Alouettes defense, Chris, get this. Patrick Levels, defensive back and linebacker for the Montreal Alouettes, said this week he feels the Alouettes are a better team than the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. That obviously opened a lot of eyes and caught people's attention. Adam Bighill, Brandon Alexander were asked about it, and I was impressed with their response. It was simply, we'd expect him to say that. If he didn't say that or think that, what kind of competitor would he be? But it also rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, especially Blue Bombers fans, that a team that's 6-5 thinks they're better than the 10-1 Blue Bombers.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because if you look at the team, turnovers where they're, bit them in the backside against Saskatchewan. This is a team that takes way too many penalties. They've shot themselves in the foot over and over at crucial times. They have to control that penalty situation. Then you look at what they have. I think they have arguably, the best running back in the CFL in William Stanback.
No question.
He's got 600-yard games. He's got he's averaging 6.5. He's 40 yards short of 1,000 in the 12th game.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just having a remarkable. So that that's their bread and butter. And I like the fact that they got Trevor Harris, because Trevor Harris working with Jamie Elizondo, the offensive coordinator, or no, whoever they had it over there too, was not a quarterback.
Yep.
Now he's working with Kahari Jones. Kahari's an offensive mind. He understands the position. He's played the position. I from what I've been reading and hearing, is Trevor has done a remarkable job of picking up that playbook already. So it's not limited. That's why they're saying they're going with him now. But if he gets knocked around, they don't have anybody. Their backup is a kid that hasn't even seen the game.
Shea Patterson. Yeah.
Shea Patterson. He's never even thrown a ball.
Well, Matthew Schultz is not just stepping aside for Andrew Harris 20 days after the trade. He is banged up. A couple notes there, Chris, is Adam Bighill spoke to that on Friday. This system Montreal runs, RPO, that's the run pass option, is something that really fits into Trevor Harris's strengths, and that, it's not a huge departure as far as system, and they'd probably be able to use his skill set a lot better. As far as William Stanback is concerned, for those that maybe haven't been watching that closely, this guy didn't come out of nowhere. Andrew Harris is the 3-time consecutive rushing champion, 2017, 18, and 19. William Stanback was the individual nipping at his heels that entire time. Stanback in 2019, in 2021, this season is hands down the best running back in the league. So the Blue Bombers defensive line, of course, Stove Richardson,
big.
Yeah. He's going to be very involved in stopping that and limiting that. But, the last time Trevor Harris was here, Chris, as a member of the Elks, you want to call it, bad body language from, say, a Jarrell Walker, or poor execution from their running game or their pass protection or their offense as a whole, or maybe it was just a sloppy Trevor Harris. The last time he played against the Blue Bombers, and namely the last time he played here in Winnipeg, he had one of the worst games of his career. Then he gets traded to a team that has to play the Blue Bombers 2 more times, and sure enough, he's starting in that first game. It'll be interesting to watch Trevor Harris to see if shedding the green and gold and going with blue and red, rejuvenates him.
Well, he's 2-5 lifetime against the Bombers. Interesting stat, though, and I don't like a lot of stats, but he's thrown 10 touchdowns, only 2 picks.
Yep.
The thing I like about, as I mentioned earlier, the fact that he works with Kahari Jones, I think he's got a better group of receivers. Ellingson with Edmonton has not really played. I think Darrell Walker had a horrible year. I'm just going to say it.
He did. Yep.
I don't think he played well at all. I mean, he's not playing this week anyway. But, there's a lot of guys around the league saying they paid this guy so much money, and he just seems to be disinterested. He doesn't really seem to care. No emotion. And I look at what Montreal's got, with Eugene Lewis, Jake Weineke, who I think is what a clutch receiver that guy is, right? I mean, 8 touchdowns, and you got, Lewis with the big games. They've got some Quan Bray. They've got talent, man. They really have. They don't have a bad offensive line either, even though they gave up 5 sacks. And then you saw Trevor Harris last week run with the football. Right. He ran for over 30 yards. He's only done that twice in his entire career. So, this is a guy that I just think he's rejuvenated. Sometimes a change of location just brings you, you just feel like you're just reborn. And I think that's what's happening with him. I think he's going to love Montreal. He's going to love the coaching staff. I think there was a lot of disenchantment with him in Edmonton. We can't read between the lines, but I don't think he was really seeing eye to eye with Jamie Elizondo, the head coach of the Edmonton Elks. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Trevor does tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. The Blue Bombers defense, some changes as we touched on earlier.
Yep.
Winston Rose stepping into the lineup. Sergio Castillo will make his 2021 debut as well. But before we get to the kicking game, Chris, which has been the powder keg of conversation here in Winnipeg all season long, is while Montreal has a lot to play for, and maybe Winnipeg doesn't have a lot to play for as far as the standings are concerned with 3 games remaining, Adam Bighill spoke to the fact the Blue Bombers do indeed have a lot to play for in this final stretch.
What would you say to someone that says, you know what, you guys have nothing to play for tomorrow and the 2 games after that?
Well, I mean, the thing that I would say is that, you can't relax in this league or in professional sports. You just can't. You're either getting better or you're getting worse because other teams are really, they're trying to level up. So, for us, we know we're not the best football team we can be yet, and that's just a fact. And we need to take every single week to keep getting one play better and be able to head into the playoffs being able to play the best football that we've ever played. And we got 3 more opportunities in front of us to prepare and to continue to get better.
The only team, in my opinion, Chris, that will beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in 2021 is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And I don't see it happening because of what we just heard from Adam Bighill. Yeah. This team has their head on their shoulders. The screws are tight, and they have just the right mentality.
Where would you expect their heads to be?
A champion.
Well,
hey, Chris, you're telling me
their head on their shoulder. Your head, they're focused. Listen, I haven't seen a football player without a head on his shoulder yet. Maybe it's a different league.
Sometimes they get their block knocked off. No, I'm just talking about sometimes teams get to 10-1, and the eagle gets a little bit too big for their britches, as they used to say, and the wrong mentalities slip in. Like, we're better than everybody else. We're going to roll to a Grey Cup championship. A lot of Bombers fans feel that way, and they're okay to say that. That's fine. But the team, they've stayed really on point, really focused. Yeah. That's what I'm speaking to. The screws are tight. Their head remains on their shoulders. Right? It's not getting too big.
That starts at the top, right? I mean, that's the coaching staff. That's O'Shea. That's even the message coming down from Kyle Walters and bringing Sergio Castillo and Winston Rose in. You know what? And they're not taking anything for granted. And I agree with you. I don't think they're not going to take their foot off the gas. I think they want to go out there and establish a win again. You want to go into playoffs on a winning note. 11-1. I think they have a great chance to be that undefeated at home going into that West final. There's so many things to play for. And then from a selfish point of view, players also are playing for individual all-stars. There's a little bonus. There's a little bit of extra money coming in, right? And these guys aren't making a crazy amount of money in the CFL. So a lot of times those little stipends or little bonuses help a lot, especially Christmas time when you got to buy the gifts, right? Which reminds me, make sure you give me a nice gift for Christmas.
No question. No, I was talking about, it's funny you bring that up because I was talking about this exact
Christmas?
Thing no, let's not talk. It's still November, okay? Hold your horses, Santa
There you
Claus.
go, man.
I was talking about this on Winnipeg Sports Talk with Hustler earlier this week, and check them out if you haven't yet. Get on YouTube and subscribe to them. Great daily sports talk here in the city, and congratulations to them too. They just hit 1 million combined views and listens between YouTube and their podcast platform. So there's proof right there. This new media is the new era of sports, here in Winnipeg and really across the globe. But it comes down to bonuses for a lot of these players. And, it could be a $500 bonus for playing 50% of the snaps or more in a game, or playing 50% in 50% of the games for a season. It could be $200 for every time you have a 100-yard receiving game, or, a 5 tackle game. There's all types of these stipulations in contracts. I've had the opportunity to look at, quarterback contracts in the hundreds of thousands, all the way down to those league minimum contracts and everything in between. And there are so many of those. Players, if you're named a division all-star, a team MOP, like if you're named the team's most outstanding offensive lineman or most outstanding special teams player, you'll get $1,000, you'll get $2,000, you get $500, maybe you get $5,000 or $10,000 if you're named the CFL's most outstanding player or most outstanding defensive player. Not specifically to any of these members of these Blue Bombers or anyone in the CFL, but that's what comes into play this time of year. Players want to play. It's more than just that mentality we spoke about and Adam Bighill spoke about. It's really going to come down to guys wanting to ensure that they're performing when it matters because 2022 is what have you done for me lately? How did you finish the season?
Well, exactly. I mean, it brings me back to an old memory. We had Darryl Rogers was our head coach. The one time Cal Murphy or Mike Riley wasn't. And he loved the O-line. And we go to practice one day, and everybody's got a shopping cart. All the O-line have shopping carts. And he comes in there and he says, I'm just going to be very simple with you guys. Here's what's happening. If you get a legitimate pancake on a player and you're blocking him and you knock him down and you roll over and whatever, you get a case of beer. Well, you want to see a bunch of hungry guys? Miles Gorell, we're just running downfield. We're looking for anybody. I said one time, Nick Benjamin, rest in peace. He said, can we hit a cheerleader? I said, no, we don't get none for that one. So, but it was great. And that probably started me on my very, it wasn't the first time I loved beer, but that reinforced the fact that I liked
when you were a Montreal Alouette, you were loving beer. Come on.
Yeah, I did. My initiation was chugging a six jug beer.
What, like
I had to chug it. That was my rookie initiation.
Well, and you were a D lineman back then too, right?
Yeah. I was only about 255 pounds.
Holy cow. You were a little Jake Thomas in there.
I was never mind. Let's not go back there.
That's way too long ago for Chris Walby.
Yeah, that's way too long.
To want to talk about. Okay, before we get into the keys to the game, Chris, Sergio Castillo.
Yes.
Very interesting comments from him throughout the week as far as, coming back to Winnipeg and his NFL experience, kicking for the New York Jets in a couple games in 2020. Well, now he comes back to Winnipeg, maybe the most accomplished kicker in the CFL during the 2019 season. And suddenly, Ali Murtada's on the practice roster, and Mark Leggio will still handle punting duties. But there's Sergio Castillo ready to take the reins and go out there and score a lot of threes for this Blue Bombers offense.
I mean, if you're looking at something they were combined, all three of them, Tyler Capina, you're talking about Leggio and you're talking about Murtada. They were combined 16 of 28. They just weren't getting it done.
Terrible.
0 attempts over. They didn't make one over 50, except Mark Leggio made one, I believe, over 50. That's You're right. I went back to look at Sergio Castillo's record. 41 of 45 in 2019, 91%. But here's the big one. 5 for 5 over 50 yards.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when it comes down to that one clutch kick, almost like a money medlock, it's nice to know you got a guy down there, and they'll attempt it now. I know O'Shea was kind of holding back. He didn't want to take a chance on a return. So I'll punt and just do the field position game. But I think when you got a guy like Castillo in there, you can maybe take a little bit more chance and kick at a field goal, put some points in your board.
No question about that. I wonder, Castillo kicking for the BC Lions in 2019, how many of those 5 kicks over 50 were in the indoor confines of BC Place? The Blue Bombers will not have that opportunity. They're going to be playing outdoors the rest of the way, and it's going to be chilly too. Castillo is a Texas native, if I'm not mistaken, and those cold weather conditions will come into play during the Western Final, potentially in the Grey Cup. I was looking at the forecast for the Grey Cup, Chris. I got my ticket. I'm looking at accommodations. I will be in Hamilton. Bonfire Sports will be there. High of +2, low of -4 on Grey Cup game day, December 12th. That's beautiful conditions. You couldn't ask for better than that.
No, I think it's going to be great. I know the city of Hamilton will do a fantastic job of hosting. The owner, he's putting together a lot of good stuff. Remember this, we had no Grey Cup last year.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of hungry fans waiting to get back into the atmosphere. One of the things the CFL does fantastic is they do a great job with that week long. It starts basically Wednesday. They open up all the events, the hospitality suites, which I will try and hit a couple if I do go, and I'm thinking I might be there.
You better be there. You better be there.
I might see you there. But anyway, on another vein, I think that the fact that you're talking about Castillo, I think that is such a wonderful addition, such a humble guy.
Mm-hmm.
I know he did play in New York Jets for a while, so he's used to a little bit of the thing. I think your point of that was a very excellent point, and I'm not one to give praise to you, but I will this time. How many of his 50-yard kicks? I don't know. You're right. They could have all been in the confines of the BC place, right? Where it's all, environmentally controlled.
He was still 91%, 50%
of
of games indoors, 50% outdoors.
Let's not, poo on his parade here, right? I mean, I think the guy's going to be good. You think there's any pressure on him, though? The first kick.
I mean,
what happens if he goes out there and misses the first field goal?
Well, if anybody can rebound, it's a guy that was 91% the last time he was in the CFL. Yeah, I'm sure there's a little bit of pressure on him.
When's the last time he kicked, though? I'm not trying to be
in a game,
bad guy.
yeah.
I'm not trying to be nice there.
Yeah, it's been over a year. It's been, I think, right around exactly a year. But obviously a stabilized position for the time being. Tyler Carpina remains on the 6-game injured list. Ali Murtada not released on the practice roster. The Blue Bombers made some cuts this past week, including linebacker Jontrell Rockamore, who had an interception in week 1. He is now, he was handed his walking papers. So, a couple interesting moves there. Murtada stays on. Rockamore is gone. I was a little bit surprised about that. But either way, this is the way the Blue Bombers have done business, and it's working. So, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt for the time being. Okay, Chris, 2-minute warning. Let's get your 3 keys to the game.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. Offensively, DB, it's keep the momentum going. Big key, protect the football, but more importantly, and this goes for all 3, stay healthy. That's the big one right now. You don't relax your mind because you've got first clinch. I think O'Shea's done a great job keeping these guys focused. As you said, they put their head on their shoulders. That's very good. I love that line there, the DB. Defensively, hey, you know what Montreal makes them click? It's the run game. Stuff the run. You got to make Montreal beat you through the air. I like Trevor Harris. I'm still one of his fans, but I think we have a better chance if we take William Stanback out of the game. He only needs, as I said before, 40 yards for 1,012 games. And the special teams, just keep winning that field position. We start off at the best field position of anybody in the CFL, and Janarian Grant came to life last week. 63-yard punt return touchdown, averaged 18 yards a punt return. He had a 47-yard missed field goal return. Boy, I tell you, to me, just keep going the way you are, buddy.
Yeah, special teams, I find the Blue Bombers have been a lot better in the return game. Is that Janarian Grant? Is that the blockers around him? It's obviously, it's a combination of it all, and that chemistry needs the right mix under Paul Boudreau Jr., the Blue Bombers special teams coordinator. Okay, Chris, it's going to be a fun game. We're going to do it all over again next week. Alouettes and Blue Bombers in Montreal. That's also a Saturday afternoon game. So we will ensure that, like this, will be up first thing on game day morning right here on Bonfire Sports on YouTube. Appreciate everybody watching. Please like and subscribe. Ring the bell, leave comments. That is a huge thing for us. We'll be sure if you have questions or comments I read them all. Chris, I know you read them too, but we will respond to you. So get into those comments and leave something for you. Chris, you got any questions for the viewers out there?
No, I tell you what, I think that everybody knows that we're all going to have a great game. It's going to be a beautiful. Look at this is November. Today is November 6th. Yeah. When this is going to be on. Yep. Plus 13 in November. It was snow last year. So, man, there's no reason not to get out to the ballpark, enjoy this game. I know the Jets play a little bit somewhere too, but boy, I tell you what, a great day for football. Bring the family out. Get one of those Walby burgers. I've never tried it. Let me know how you think about those Walby burgers.
How have you never tried one?
Should I get a royalty?
How have you never tried one?
I should get a royalty, though. That's what I'm saying. Can you not get that? I'm trying to ask for a royalty.
They should give you a nickel for every one sold, right? So you can donate it to a good charity.
$40. I get a nickel? I can expect a good present from you this Christmas. Don't break the bank with a nickel, big money bags.
Maybe I'll plop a Walby burger on your front step and then just kind of ring the doorbell and run.
Oh, yeah. We used to do that before. We used to light the bag on fire, though.
Oh, hey, what is that? No, not Happy Gilmore. That's
yeah, that's bad. All right, my brother, I got to go. You have a great day.
You too, Chris.
I'm going for a scalp massage. See if I get any hair growth.
Looks good. I don't know what's hiding under that.
That's why I wear a hat, brother.
I hear you. I'm starting to lose it too. Take care, buddy. Have a good weekend.
But you're a good-looking dude. You're trying to get a beard going. It looks pretty good on you.
You take care of that mustache. Keep twisting those corners.
Oh, it's looking good there. All right, buddy. I love you, man. Take care, everybody. 11-0 Bombers. There, I called it. There you go. Have a great one, boys.